Today's class, I will brush up, I'll give you a brief idea about how these substances are being transported across the plasma membranes. Okay, so plasma membranes of a cell. So if you remember in the last class, also have said that the plasma membranes of a cell it is semi-permeable. Okay, that means it does not allow all the substance to be transported inside the cells. So some substances are there which even though they might be transported, but some different methods are there which allows them to be transported inside the cells, not easily. Okay? It does not allow easily transferring of any form of substances across its membranes. So I'll share my slides. Okay, so today we will see on the transport of substances across the cell membranes. So actually in the transport of the substances, it is a process of how substance, be it your water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, or your electrolytes like your potassium, sodium, or anything. Okay, so how it is being transferred across the cell membranes or the plasma membranes. So like I've also previously said, the plasma membranes, it is semi-permeable. Okay, that means it have some type of selective permeability. Whenever we say permeability, it means like how it allows. Okay, permeability is like a permission to enter or something. So this cell membranes or your plasma membranes, it have some type of selective permeability where it allows certain substances to cross the membranes, okay, to enter inside the cells and to move out of the cell. So actually in this we will just briefly see, okay, for transferring of the substances, actually we have two mechanisms which we call as the passive and the active. So whenever we say passive, that means here the movement of the substances will occur without the use of any form of energy. Okay, and whenever we say active, it means it is a transport of the substance across the cell membranes by the use of certain forms of energy. Okay, like we have ATP. Okay, like adenosine triphosphate. It is also one form of energy. Okay, so when we say active and passive, this is the main difference. Active means we use some form of energy, and passive means the substances they are passing across the cell membranes without any form of energy. Okay, so this is a passive transport. Okay, so passive transport, it is the movement of the substances across the semi-permeable plasma on organelle and membranes, and it moves down the concentration gradient. So how does that process occur actually happen? How it happened? It is mainly because here, whenever we say downhill, that means here the whatever there it is there in the cells. So the movement of substance usually occurs, or the fluids, it moves from the higher to the lower concentration. So if it is through this process that it is able to cross. Okay, because if you move from higher to lower, okay, if you move downhill, that we don't need any form of energy easily. Okay, easily it will be this, because actually inside what happens, like whenever, even inside ourselves, like if I have talked about homeostasis, right, like each and every parts of our body, they try to maintain the balance. So similarly here also, suppose what happened if the outside part of the cell, if it have contains more fluid or more substances, so what happened to manage to balance that out, they will try to it will try to move towards the lower side, or where there is less substances or less. So like that, by doing that, it is trying to maintain the balance. So that is the main reasons it is movement. So this, for movement of this type of movement, we don't need any form of energy. Okay, so it will move from the higher from the area with a higher concentration, then it will move to the area with lower concentration. That's so. And in this passive transport, we have three forms. We have the diffusion, two forms: diffusion and facilitated diffusion. So diffusion, it means nothing but the movement of the substances from the higher to the lower concentration. Okay, so as you can see also from this figure, it shows. Okay, so that is the meaning of the word diffusion. But whenever we say facilitated diffusion, is that what happens? Sometimes what happens, certain substances, it cannot be transferred, maybe because of the way they are shaped. Okay, they are not able to be transferred directly to the plasma lipids. So what happens now, in order to transfer them, so how it is being transferred? By making, like, by this protein molecules. Those are the protein molecules. Okay, so these protein molecules, they are shaped in such a way that they are acting as a lock and key. Okay, that means they will try to modify their shape, okay, in such a way that whatever substances it is that needs to be entered inside of the cell, it will be able to take that inside. So it will try to shape in such a way. So if you can see from the diagram also, okay, in the third photo, it is that is the meaning of the what facilitated diffusion, in which the protein molecules, with the help of these protein molecules, it helps in transferring that. How it is being transferred? By the shape, okay, because by adjusting in the shape or by modifying its shape, so in such a way that it is able to carry the substances. So this is the meaning of the word facilitated diffusion. So diffusion, it is okay, like small molecules diffuse down the concentration gradient. Okay, so every time the molecules always try to move from the higher to the lower. Okay, so in order to maintain the balance or to maintain the homeostasis, so they are trying to balance it out. Okay, it should be equal. So lipid soluble materials like your oxygen, carbon dioxide, fatty acids, and steroids. Okay, they cross the membrane by dissolving in the lipid part of the membranes. That means they will dissolve itself to the phospholipids. Okay. Then the water-soluble materials like sodium, potassium, calcium, they will cross the membrane by passing through the water fills channel, or they can just go in between the channels. So this is how actually diffusion, just in simple word diffusion, it means the passage of the substances across the semi-permeable membranes from the higher to the lower concentration. Okay. But when we say facilitated, okay, so facilitated, actually this passive process, it is used by some substances who are not able to diffuse to the semi-permeable membranes, okay. So they need some form of help, okay. For example, here they have given like glucose, amino acids. So these, they are not allowed to enter the plasma membrane. So how it is done? Some specialized protein molecules, okay, if you these are the specialized protein molecules in the diagram, okay, so purple color. So those are the specialized protein molecules. What happened? They have specific sites which attracts and bind the substances to be transferred, okay, like a lock and key mechanism. If you see from the diagram itself in the third photos, it shows, okay, how that it is being allowed, okay, it is transferred and it is shaped in such a way that whatever substance it is, it fits exactly in that protein molecules, and like that it tries and transferred it to the other side of the cell or insides of the cell. So this is how it is done in a facilitated diffusion, okay. So in normal diffusion, it is just normally it will usually pass through the plasma membrane, okay, but in a facilitated, this usually occurred with the help of the all these protein molecules, okay. So with the help of all this, it helps in that, and the carrier then changes its shape, okay, and deposited the substance on the other side of the membranes. The carrier sites are specific, and we have to remember, like, all not all substances can be used, okay, by in one, suppose some protein molecules, they are specific for certain types of substance. That means only one substance can fit in one form of this protein molecules, okay. The carrier site are specific and can be only used only by one substance. Suppose this one, okay, so this you can see from this diagram. So this can be used only by these type of protein molecules. So likewise, so certain this protein sites or the protein molecules binding site, it is not for all substances. It is one type of protein molecules. It is only for one type of substances. So this is known as the transport maximum. Okay. So this is what it is actually in the diffusion. Okay, active and the diffusion and the facilitated diffusion. So whenever we say osmosis, so osmosis also is actually, it is a passive movement. That means it is a movement without the use of any form of energy. So this is also similarly to the diffusion. It is the movement of water, okay, down its concentration gradients towards the equilibrium across a semi-permeable membranes. So whenever we say this diffusion, it is a movement actually of all the molecules, okay. Whenever we say osmosis, it means it is a movement of the liquid substances or the water, okay. So this is also same. So the movements of water will occur from the area of higher concentration to the area of lower concentration, as you can see from the diagram. So why it is done? It is only mostly to maintain all the balance or to maintain the homeostasis. Okay, so this is about the passive transport. Okay, so this is how, with the help of all this process or mechanism, how the exchange of substances or the movement of this liquids, it takes place across our cell membranes. Are you clear with this passive transport? Yes? Yes, any question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this, I think you must have already learned also, maybe I don't know, in your class 12 or something related to active or passive. Okay, so anyhow, if I hope everyone is clear with this. Okay, passive transport. Now next we will move on with the active. Okay, so active means it is enough, we need, the movement will be done with the help of some form of energy. Okay, so this is called as the active transport. So this is a transport of the substances up their concentration gradient. So actually, this is the main reason why they need energy, because to move something up, okay, from the lower to the upper, okay, so we need some form of energy. Yes or no? It cannot be done just like that. So that is the main reason why we need form of energy, because here mostly what happened, it is the opposite of diffusion. Okay, movements of the substances will take place from the lower concentration to the higher concentration. Okay, so okay, naturally, okay, if you think also we need some form of energy, we cannot just take something like that, right? So that is the main reason why we need some form of energy, because it is just against the concentration gradient. Okay, and what type of energy? We need some form of chemical energy in the form of ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so this it drives specialized protein carrier molecules that transport the substances across the membranes in either direction. Okay, so all this form of energy, it is being needed in order to transfer any form of substance or any form of molecules across the membranes. The carrier sites are very specific, okay, even here also, and they can be used only for one substance. Okay, so the carrier site mostly it is where it is present. It is mostly present in your protein molecules, where we have all those protein molecules within the membranes. So all those, even here also, those carrier sites are specific only for one type of substance. Suppose one carrier site is only specific for glucose. Some might be specific only for amino acids. So likewise, okay, so like that, it is specific only for one type of substance. Therefore, the rate at which a substance is transferred, it also depends on the number of the sites which is being available. Okay. So the more the numbers of sites are there, that means the more substance will be transferred, or will be movement will be more. Okay, so this is the main difference between active and passive. Okay, so in active, actually, what is the main, here we have given example of potassium and sodium pump. Okay, so what happened, we have this potassium, it is also an electrolytes. Okay, so this actually, the potassium, it is very, the high level of potassium, it is very high inside the cell. Okay, and it is also called as the intracellular cation, because the largest number of potassium, it is present inside the cell. Okay, the largest number of electrolytes cation. Then whenever we say sodium, okay, this sodium, it is much higher outside of the cell than inside, and it is the largest extracellular cation. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so potassium, actually it is the intracellular cation. Then whenever we say cation, that means these are those electrolytes which carry a positive charge. Okay, like even if you remember your chemistry and all, we have learned like sodium Na plus. Okay, so that is the meaning of the word cation. Okay, then these ions, they tend to diffuse down the concentration gradients. Okay, that means the potassium, it will move outwards, and the sodium into the cells. Okay, normally this is normal, like how it is moved. Okay, like if you remember, even in passive, I have said movement is always in that way. So always the movement will be there from higher to lower. But what is the thing, like what happened, sometimes what happens, it so happens that the level of potassium inside the cells must be, it might be, uh, so sorry, suppose what happened, like I've said, like potassium, it will go inside. Okay, then this potassium will move outside, sorry, and sodium will go inside. But what happened, there will be a time when the number of this sodium, it will be too much inside the cells. In order to remove that, okay, so we need some form of energy or some form of ATP. So that is what usually happens in the sodium potassium pump. Okay, so in order to maintain the concentration gradients, so the excess sodium, okay, it is constantly pumped out across the cell membranes in exchange for potassium. So why this has happened? Because like I've said, we always needs to maintain the homeostasis. Okay, so this is actually what happens. So all this, if you see from the figure, number 1, 2, 3, all those oxygen. Okay, so this is actually, normally this is called diffusion. Diffusion means even the potassium also, it will be moving. Like I've said, potassium, it is mostly the largest number of potassium, it is there outside of the cell. So how it will happen? This potassium, it will normally, how is it? It will go inside the cells. So it will move from the area of higher concentration, then it will move to the area of lower concentration. This is how normally it happens, okay, diffusion. Then what happens, sometime what happens, okay, that the time may come when the number of potassium, it might be too much inside of the cells, okay. So in order to manage that, to maintain that balance, so some number of potassium needs to be thrown out. So that means if it is thrown out, that means it is going to the area of from lower to higher concentration. So that is the main reason why we need ATP. So this is that is the state, that means in the last diagram, that fourth one, okay. So potassium, why we say lower? Because potassium, actually adequate number of potassium will always be in the outside, okay. So that's why, and if from the inside of the cell potassium level is less, so it is moving from the lower to the higher concentration. So this is how it is done, and similarly for the potassium also. So this is your active transport. Are you clear with this? It might be a bit confusing, okay. Are you clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
important, okay? Sodium,
Yes,
potassium
ma'am.
transport. Actually, just don't be confused. First, what happened? The potassium first, it will go inside the cells. So when the potassium goes inside of the cell, that means the potassium, it is moving from the higher to the lower. Why we say higher? Because the potassium level, it is more in outside of the cells. So that's why it is moving. When it moves inside of the cell, that means it is moving to the area of lower concentration. Okay. So what happened? There might be a time when this potassium level might be too much inside of the cell. So it needs to be excess, or it needs to be removed out of the cells. So when the process of removing the potassium out of the cells, sodium out of the cell, so that we, then what happens, like if you move it out, that means you are moving the sodium to the area of higher concentration, because the sodium level, it is more outside. So that is when we need the energy, because it is just the opposite of diffusion. Okay, so this is the main concept of sodium and potassium transport. So the same goes for potassium. Okay, so are you clear? Please ask, okay, if you have doubt in this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I hope everyone is clear. It is clearly given even in the diagram. Okay, so next type of transport, it is called as the bulk transport. Okay, so this actually, when we say bulk transport, it is actually for those type of molecules where it cannot be transported because maybe it might be too large, okay, to cross the cell membrane. So for those type of particles or substances, so how it is processed, it is being transported, it is mainly by the process called pinocytosis or phagocytosis. So do you still remember what is phagocytosis? I have discussed it last time. In one of the function of lysozyme, I have mentioned this. Phagocytosis means, yes, it is the process of how? Yes, anyone? Phagocytosis means where the everyone forgot. Okay, did I mention about phagocytosis previous class? No. Yes or no? Someone please respond. Yes, yes or no, class? It's okay, just say no. If no, okay, no problem. Okay. Yes?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, maybe I have not mentioned. It's okay. So phagocytosis, it is a process by which whatever particles, okay, which is needed to be, and it what inside the cells itself, cytosis means inside. So it will try to trap it, okay, and it will engulf it. And after that, it will try to destroy it. That is the meaning, actually, the simple meaning of phagocytosis. So suppose it can be suppose any foreign particles entered inside the cells. So what happens? So those foreign particles, so it will engulf it. That means it will encircle it, okay, in a kind of a sac. And after that, with the help of all the enzymes, it will try to kill it. That is the meaning of the word phagocytosis. Okay, so what happened, if you see, for those substance where it is very large, okay, to cross the cell membranes, so these particles are mainly engulfed by the extension of the cytoplasm. okay, which enclose them, forming a membranes-bound vacuole. Then, if the vacuole is small, then it is being destroyed by the process called as pinocytosis. And in phagocytosis, it is usually for those large particles like for cell fragments or any foreign materials or any microbes, bacteria in the form of microbes means it can be virus, bacteria, all those. So then what happened? What happened? These lysosomes actually after that they will go and bind to the vacuole membranes. Okay, inside the vacuole membrane, actually, what is that? That particles or the or which can be foreign materials or cell fragments or anything. Right? And after that, then as we remember, if you remember in the lysosome, we have discussed that inside the lysosome we have some enzymes. Okay, so this lysosome it will release its enzyme, and those enzyme with the help of those enzyme it will digest the contents. Okay, so I'll show you the diagram. What is it? So firstly, if you have seen from the photo itself, so that small, okay, we have some small substances, okay, which needs to cross the cell membranes. So once it enter, what happens? It is being engulfed by the plasma membrane. So the plasma membranes itself, it will engulf it. That means when we say engulf, that means it will try to cover it, encircle it, and it will make, and after that, what happened after the encircling? Then this will be transferred in a sac. Okay, sac means it have a cover. If you see in the C, in the diagram number C, it says formation of a vacuole. That means it will try to engulf it in a vacuole type. Then what happens? The lysosomes. Okay, so lysosome also, if you remember, they are also one form of cell organelles which are present in the cytoplasm. So this lysosome, it will go towards this vacuole, okay, membrane, and it will try to digest it. So how it will digest it? It will release the enzymes. Okay, because if you remember also in the previous slides I've said, so this lysosome it acts a very important function in the prevention of infection or in eliminating any form of bacteria or any form of foreign materials entering inside our inside the cells. Okay, so the number E, it says digestion of the particles by the lysosome enzyme, and after it is being digested or even after it is being killed, okay, for example, of microbes. So in the last one, it is being expelled out. So how it is being expelled? By the process of exocytosis. So this is actually what it is, the bulk transport, okay? And this is actually usually it is for those type of foreign materials that needs to be destroyed or any type of cell fragments that needs to be destroyed out. So this it is how it is being transport, bulk transport. Okay, so are you clear with this? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so this is actually about the
Yes,
transport.
ma'am.
Okay, so this actually transport, it is not directly in a syllabus, but why I'm telling you because at least you have to know the concept of all this. Okay, how any type of substance or if it is substance or any liquid liquid substance. Okay, how it is being transferred across the cell membranes. So this is about your transport of substance across the cell membranes. Okay, so remember this in passive we have all this diffusion and facilitated diffusion, and this is for the movement of the molecules. But if you say for the movement of the fluids, okay, or the water, we have osmosis. But the process is same. It moves from higher to the lower concentration. Okay. Then in the active transport also mostly here we need some form of energy in the form of ATP. Okay, and here we have the sodium potassium pump. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so you have to be very thorough with the sodium potassium pump. And the lastly is the bulk transport. Okay, so in which this is mostly for those particles which are very large, or and it is mostly it is indicated for those foreign materials that need to be destroyed or any cell fragments that needs to be destroyed out. Okay, so all those it is being done in this way. Okay, in all this way where it is being first it will be engulfed. After that, it will be engulfed in a vacuole. Then, with the help of lysosome, they will release the enzyme and they will kill it. And after it is being killed, after that, it will be removed out from the cell by the process of exocytosis. Okay. So this is it about the cells. Okay. So in the next class, I will start with the tissues then tomorrow. Okay. So you please go through whatever notes I have given on the cells, okay, be the cell organelles, all this transports, because this is very important. Okay, I hope everyone is clear.
Yes,
Yes?
ma'am.
No?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You all never have
Yes, ma'am.
questions. Okay, I don't know whether you really understand or you don't understand anything because nobody asks any question. Everyone is every time. When I try to ask any question, means no. Are you clear? Yes? Okay, have you noted down all the notes in your copy? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
We will check, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
We will check all your copies and all whatever because you have to always write because what is the benefit of writing, when you write down it really helps in if you really concentrate and write it really helps you to memorize things. And if you listen to the class nicely during the teachers when they explain, so when you write down it's like you will try to it's like a repetition, okay, and it will really help you. You'll be able to learn so many things rather than just listening and seeing. Na? If you write down, you will remember more nicely. So it's like a revision. And every time, like I'll tell you on, okay, frankly, this anatomy and physiology is not an easy subject. Okay. And even if you see your senior, so many used to get back paper in anatomy and physiology. So that's what. And it's a very new subject for everyone. So try to learn every day. Whenever the teachers give any class, immediately that day itself, you have to learn. Not only actually for anatomy, even for other subjects. So in that, especially for anatomy, we have to remember the diagram. It's very important. Without diagram, how much if you write even so many pages, so especially for anatomy, okay? So you always have to give the diagram. So with the diagram, then you can give a little bit of explanation. Okay, so even for the cell is actually a very common questions asked. So whenever a questions on cells comes, so you have to always draw, okay, the diagram. So like this diagram of cells. So with this diagram only, they can explain everything about cells. So when cells come, that means you have to write everything. Okay, cell organelles. It's not possible to write in a very descriptive type, but at least the main, what is the main function of the lysosome? What is the main function of all the cell organelles? All those you have to give with a very good diagram. So that's why I told you. So this diagram, you have to copy it in your copy. Okay, so you have to note down this diagram properly, and so every day you have to practice. This cell somehow it is easy, huh? But if you go to another unit, we have so many different system like the respiratory system, digestive. So some diagram you really need to practice. Okay. So with practice only you'll be able to learn properly. You'll be able to catch up very fast if you practice to draw. So even now, so if you have free time, you can practice to draw the diagram of a cell. So like that, it really help you. And don't keep anything pending. Okay, from now only I'll say because first year is not a very easy class. Okay, because we have so many subjects. We have around 7 subjects, and if you take in total, okay, like nutrition, biochemistry is combined, but if you take separately, you have around 9 subjects. And moreover, actually, now it would have been better if you all come for the classes offline. Okay, so we could have at least catch up properly if anyone have any problem. But anyhow, we are trying to cope up with the pandemic. So please be regular for the class and don't take online class lightly. Just because it's online, I will not attend. I will give excuses, not like that. Okay, because we won't be at loss. Okay, the students, you all only you'll be at loss. Now you might think, okay, but in your exam you really feel okay because if you listen nicely in the class, then just by reading the books once, you'll be able to understand at once. So it really helps because if you read every day, if you are very sincere, then only you'll be and this one, okay. And we don't want any back paper. We want everyone to pass in one go. Okay, getting back paper is also another very hectic. Okay, because you'll be having again second year. Okay, that time you'll be in second year again. You have to still study for first year. Okay, so it is very again another extra burden. So try to clear up in one go. Okay, so always and eat properly, sleep properly. Okay, so take adequate rest. I understand it might be a bit hectic because whole day you're having class. Okay, so anyhow in between you try to take some break. Okay, so and just relax. Okay, okay, anything clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I will wind up the class. Then, still, if you have any doubt from this, you just ask. Then tomorrow I'll start with the topic on tissues. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.